Have you ever felt jealous of your friend? Maybe it's about their looks, their grades, or their financial situation that makes you feel like they're the center of the universe. So what would you do then? Would you end the relationship? Or would you proactively change your mindset? And no matter what, you certainly wouldn't act as cruelly as Caroline. And this is one of the strangest and scariest cases in Australia. The perpetrator acted coldly, calculatedly, and terrifyingly. You are following the case of Caroline attacking her friend just because of jealousy of her beauty on the Thrilling Story channel. And as usual, if this story leaves an impression on you, don't hesitate to leave a like as an encouragement for us. And if this is the first time we have the chance to meet, click to follow the channel and turn on the notification bell to update the most classic cases. September 12, 1983 was also the day Rachel Barber was born in Melbourne to her father Michael and mother Elizabeth. Rachel grew up happily with her parents and two younger sisters. The family had a background of designers and children's book authors. Rachel began to show her passion for art from a very young age, and her favorite subject was ballet. When she came home from school, she would take out all her costumes and practice. Right from primary school, she was confident that dancing would be her future career, and her family always supported that. Rachel started studying dance at the Melbourne Dance Academy when she was only 6 years old. In high school, she became an outstanding child dancer. Rachel also joined a modeling course when she was only 14 years old. At that time, she only practiced for a few hours after class and would not be able to develop her full potential. Rachel's family began to be upset and said that if she dropped out of school, it would be difficult for her to pursue another career in the future. But Rachel was passionate about dancing from birth and firmly defended her point of view. Then in 1998, at the end of her first year, Rachel moved to the Dance Factory to make her dream come true. The Dance Factory is where Rachel met her first love, Manny. The two quickly dated and shared everything in life. Rachel seemed to be a lively, active person when participating in activities, but she was actually very shy. When she was with her friends, she shone brighter than anyone else. Around 9 a.m. on March 1, 1999, she took the train to her friend's house in Rickmont. This friend's house was where all the dance students would meet and have breakfast before going to school. Rachel gave Manny a gift of a small purple heart with a rebound prize. Rachel was radiant with happiness and told her friends that she would earn a lot of money that night. As for how she did it, Rachel did not reveal it. But it seemed like she had planned it all and was looking forward to it. During lunch break, Rachel went out to eat with Manny. When they passed a shoe store, Rachel showed Manny a pair of $100 shoes that she had been dreaming of. She told Manny that she would buy them today. Manny was surprised and asked how his girlfriend made money. But Rachel couldn't tell Manny. Rachel had always been honest and straightforward about everything, but this time was different. Rachel and her friend started walking to the Chuck Street train station. Then Rachel said she would take another train, so she kissed Manny goodbye and got into the Wareham train station. Rachel took the train in the opposite direction to her house to meet an old friend at her apartment. At 6:30 p.m. that day, Rachel's mother was preparing dinner with her two little girls and waiting for her husband and Rachel to come home as usual. As usual, Rachel's father would pick Rachel up at the local train station and drive her home at 6 or 6:15 p.m. But as time went on, no one came home. The two younger sisters kept asking their older sister why she hadn't come home, which made their mother feel that something was wrong, and said that Rachel had missed the train or that their father had stopped to get gas and was late. But when she waited until 7:40 p.m., her husband did not answer his phone. He was at his parents' house in Blackburn. He could not find Rachel at the train station and called her, but she did not answer. He asked Elizabeth if Rachel had come home by herself, but she said she had not. Elizabeth began to panic because her daughter was only 15 and she feared that she might be in danger. Her father checked all the local train stations but still could not find Rachel. So he immediately contacted the media and printed Rachel's picture on a flyer asking people to provide information about her. But when Rachel's parents reported her to the police, they didn't seem to care, saying that children of that age were just playing around and would come home when they were hungry. Elizabeth was so worried that she started calling Rachel's friends. She called Manny first because he knew everything about Rachel. Manny told her that Rachel was planning to meet her old friend to start a modeling job that could bring in a lot of money. But when Rachel told her mother immediately said no because Rachel was too young to do it. On February 28, Caroline spoke to Rachel again and told her not to tell Elizabeth. Elizabeth thought Rachel had gone to modeling, but she wasn't sure. She only knew that Rachel took the train in the opposite direction to her usual route home. Meanwhile, her father went to Box Hill Police Station and filed an official report of his daughter's disappearance. But so far, the police have advised him not to worry too much. On the evening of March 1, Elizabeth and her husband went around Melbourne asking people if they had seen their daughter. It was clear that the police were not investigating, making the search for Rachel in Melbourne a needle in a haystack. Then the next morning, Rachel's parents went to the police station again. This time they brought a set of photos of their daughter, but when they spoke to the police officer on duty, they learned that he had no information about Rachel's disappearance. Rachel's parents went to their daughter's dance studio and checked Rachel's locker again. However, they did not find anything special. Rachel's wallet was still there, but it only contained a few coins and an E-train ticket from the day before. There was no information about where she had been or who she had met the day before. They then went to Rachel's favorite shoe store. They remembered that Rachel had wanted a pair of expensive shoes. So they wanted to check if she had bought them. The shop assistant told them that Rachel had asked to keep a pair and said she would buy them the next day, but she never returned. Her mother now called hospitals in Melbourne to ask if there was a patient named Rachel, but they said they could not give out patient information to strangers. Well, Rachel's mother felt really angry and helpless. By March 3, the staff at the dance factory and the adjacent cafe had joined the search for Rachel. They filed several missing persons reports and went to Box Hill Police, hoping that the police would actively investigate. The cafe owner had a friend who was a good detective and he went to Box Hill Station to convince the police to take up the case. Meanwhile, Rachel's friends had printed and posted pictures of her all over the city. Although the police promised to start an investigation, they never did. Elizabeth spoke to the detective again and he decided to help them. He asked Elizabeth to make a list of people Rachel knew. Especially the female friends she met on March 1. It's not true that the police didn't care about the case because they did, but they did stupid things. The police thought that Rachel might be pregnant and ran away. Or that Manny got angry and attacked her when he found out she was pregnant. So the police brought Manny back for questioning, but it was clear that he wasn't with Rachel when she disappeared. The police went to the house and checked Rachel's room, then concluded that Rachel had run away and advised the family to prepare themselves mentally and focus on raising the two remaining girls. It was hard to believe that a police officer could talk so carelessly to a family whose children were missing. Rachel's parents made a list of suspects and thought of a strange man near their house. Elizabeth often caught him lurking around the house and talking about her daughter. Just 2 weeks before Rachel's disappearance, Elizabeth was coming out of the bathroom and saw the man in the house talking to her youngest daughter, threatening to call the police if he continued to approach her. On March 6, Elizabeth and her husband went to Box Hill Police Station and asked them to investigate the man. To their surprise, the police told them to find another place to go, not to waste their time. Elizabeth burst into tears and threw her school bag into the police car. She was at her wit's end and didn't know what to do next. But then someone called her with important information. It was Allison, the sister of a friend of Rachel's. She had just learned that Rachel was missing and contacted Elizabeth, saying that on March 1, Allison had seen Rachel at the train station near Rickmont. She was with another girl, probably a little older and with a normal appearance. This was the key clue that opened the door to Rachel's case. Her family knew this, so they quickly took Allison to the police station so Allison could draw a sketch of the girl who was with Rachel. A famous newspaper then put Rachel on the cover and Allison's sketch was shown nationwide. Rachel's family recognized the person from Allison's sketch. It was a very familiar face that Rachel's family had known for nearly a decade. It was Caroline Reed Robertson. Caroline's family had been Rachel's neighbors since 1992. There were many eerie similarities between the two families. Both had 3 daughters, the 2 oldest being Rachel and Caroline. Both families lived across the street from each other. It seemed like the 6 girls would become best friends, but that was not the case. In general, the 2 families were completely different. Caroline's parents argued every day and were preparing for divorce. Caroline was not confident about her appearance, because she was obese and in puberty, so her skin broke out quite a lot. The family atmosphere was always tense and tired. But every time she looked out the window, she saw a happy family and a beautiful, sweet girl named Rachel. She saw Rachel as a beautiful person, in a perfect way, and wished she could be like that. Caroline first met Rachel when she was 15 and Rachel was 10. Elizabeth and her husband hired Caroline to take care of their 3 daughters while they were away. They hoped that their daughters would love Caroline, and see her as a big sister. But they did not know Caroline's terrible obsession. She found Rachel very attractive and was always jealous of why she could not be like that girl. Caroline always felt inferior and secretly wished that she could be happy, beautiful, and loved by everyone like Rachel. Caroline not only wanted to be near Rachel, but also wanted to be Rachel. She planned to steal Rachel's identity and become her at all costs. To steal Rachel's identity, Caroline would have to take action against her. Caroline's terrible plan began from the first time she met Rachel. For 5 long years, Caroline had been planning to take action against Rachel. Caroline wrote in her diary, "I feel like I don't belong anywhere in this world, just because I'm ugly." Caroline's mother, Gail, was very worried when she saw her daughter in such a bad mental state. Gail even went to Elizabeth for advice. After graduating from high school, Caroline moved to a rented apartment. In Provence, she didn't look for a job or apply to university. She spent all her time planning to take action against Rachel. She had been thinking about this for several years. It was even deeply imprinted in her subconscious. She really didn't understand what Caroline was thinking. How can you replace someone by taking their life? Caroline was crazy, lost her mind and never felt remorse for what she did on March 1, 1999. Caroline convinced Rachel to model for $500 a day. And asked Rachel to keep it a secret, not to tell anyone about this job, and Rachel agreed. After finishing her dance class, Rachel went to the train station, waited for her. Caroline led Rachel into her apartment and did some yoga together. Then attacked her from behind. Rachel didn't understand why Caroline wanted to attack her, because she always trusted her sister. Every detail of the plan was written in Caroline's diary. From luring Rachel to the house, how to kill her, how to dispose of the body, how to disguise and clean up the scene. After Allison submitted Caroline's sketch to the police, they checked Rachel's last phone call on March 1, which was identified as Caroline's. At that time, Rachel's father still believed she was alive, and he simply assumed that Rachel was out with Caroline. About a week after Rachel's disappearance, the police went to Caroline's house. When they knocked on the door, no one answered. The police began to break down the door. They found her lying unconscious on the floor, apparently having a seizure. After searching around the house, the police still could not find Rachel. The police quickly took Caroline to the hospital, and about 2 hours later, she woke up. During the hospital interview, Caroline calmly told the police that Rachel had died. She had buried Rachel in a forest near her farm in the countryside. Caroline showed no emotion, no remorse, and no fear. Her apartment was filled with pictures of Rachel. The entire plan to kill and steal Rachel's identity was carefully recorded in her diary. Caroline even had a copy of Rachel's ID card. She had planned this crime for 5 years, and this was the first time the police had evidence of a case where the murderer had planned it so specifically. On March 13, the police searched Caroline's father's farm in Kilmore Town, 70 kilometers from Melbourne, and found Rachel's badly decomposed body in a nearby forest. When the police informed Rachel of her condition, her parents were shocked. They were so heartbroken and collapsed immediately. The police took Caroline from the hospital to the police station and interrogated her again. But she did not reveal anything. Caroline was very cold and acted as if she did not remember the details of the case, and said that she did not do it on purpose. However, Caroline's diary and Rachel's body were enough to convict her of premeditated murder. Caroline confessed to killing Rachel in October 2000. She explained that Rachel was the embodiment of innocence and wanted to be that person. In November 2000, Caroline was sentenced to 20 years in prison, with no chance of parole for 15 years. Caroline was first eligible for parole on August 10, 2014, but her release was delayed after a public outcry. However, she was released from prison in January 2015. By this time, Caroline's appearance had changed so much that even her parents were surprised. She was no longer the round-faced, pizza pie-faced teenager she had once despised. When Elizabeth first saw Caroline after her release from prison, she thought she had one thing in common with Rachel, namely her eyes. And you, what do you think about the cruel behavior of this crazy murderer? Leave your comments below to discuss together. And before leaving, don't forget to like, choose to follow the channel and turn on the notification cage to update the most thrilling and attractive cases on the channel.